DNVR Broncos Live, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, coming to you from Studio A here at the DNVR Bar, where the A stands for Ann Arbor.
Hey!
I thought you were going to say Arrowhead.
He was not going to say Arrowhead. I can guarantee you that.
Referee head.
No.
Anything. Rigged head.
Oh, my goodness.
That's an R.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't work. But it is still trending on Twitter.
Wow.
Sadly.
Oh, wow.
Horrible night for the NFL. Horrible night.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was.
Well, I mean, for them, they got the result that they wanted.
Oh, you think they wanted that?
Well, they rigged it.
Nobody rigged anything.
Oh, my
Football
goodness.
isn't rigged.
We don't have to go into this, but
It's not rigged.
The thing is,
it
though,
might not always be rigged. Last night was
Joe
definitely
Burrow
rigged.
is such a great selling point. So I don't for
Exactly.
the Super Bowl. So I don't understand why people would think it was rigged. Joe
where
Burrow,
I'm at.
they sold him so easily last year. They sold him so easily throughout this season, and Joe Burrow would have been another huge selling point. And it wasn't like it was keeping the
Yes.
New York Jets or the Chicago Bears or a huge
Smith.
market team from going to the Super Bowl. It was Kansas City or Cincinnati. Like not a huge deal either way in terms of the city.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a much bigger, more of a star quarterback that every media person is obsessed with.
I said last night, if Joe Burrow would have won the game, he would have been the best quarterback in the NFL. So I don't think that you're lacking star power with
No.
Joe Burrow.
I mean, whether you think it was rigged or not, it trended on Twitter, still trending
did.
right now. It was a horrible, horrible night for the NFL. They
They made the one bad call. The one big screwed up thing that didn't impact the game.
What was it?
Oh
Like
my
when the
God.
second, third down.
That wasn't it even.
You guys are insane.
They blew it dead. They blew the play dead, and because you know where, what we found out last night, how much the Bengals messed up by calling it Burrowhead.
Oh my God!
did.
They would have won the game if it wasn't rigged
They had
against
the
them.
ball with 2 minutes left in a tie game.
Yeah, and so how does that impact?
They had
What
they
they
had
said
their
during the week.
opportunity.
They did, but
They blew it.
They would have never let them score.
That's not true.
They called the bullshit intentional grounding.
That's not bullshit. That's the exact definition of the rule.
Oh my God! And then you have
There was
them,
no receiver
and then you
around.
have them on the broadcast saying both receivers went deep. There's no one around. As we're literally watching the
True.
ball go to Samaje Perine feet.
I did roll to his feet. But
That
I
means
did,
it's in the area. If a ball can roll to your feet, you were close
He
to
didn't
it.
even get it past the pocket.
It doesn't matter.
But no, I mean he's not in the area. If you hit the back of your lineman's
If the
heel.
ball can bounce to you, you're in the area.
Oh my! No. It's like if you're
if
sitting
it
on
rolls to you, no. I mean, you got to be in the area of the
No.
initial pass.
That was like the
if
definition.
it bounces to you, that means you were in
He
that
literally
area.
spiked the ball. But yeah, like imagine you're sitting on your couch, you're playing with the dog, got a tennis ball, and you say, "Okay, I'm gonna throw this out by the tree," but then it hits the wall, and so then it just kind of sits inside the wall and doesn't go to the tree. That's how it is, not throwing past the pocket. Or it's just like there's a wall. You didn't get anywhere near him.
ball
You had to throw
bounced
that
to his feet.
You had to throw that another 10 feet higher to have any sort of
You can
chance.
even see in the back angle, he's looking right at him. He gets hit as he throws it.
If he gets hit while he throws it, that's different. I didn't think he
absolutely
did.
does. You can see it on the back angle.
I didn't think that he did. But yeah, I thought that was just a textbook by the book call.
Are you mad about the personal
No
foul
block
at
in the
end?
back on the
No,
play
the,
that
per,
won
the
the
personal.
Personal
I'm
foul.
asking you a question. I'm truly asking you a question. Are you mad about the personal foul? At the
No,
end?
that was
Okay.
that was just a dumb play.
And
know
by
what?
penalty yardage, that was the difference between the two teams.
Between the two teams in penalty yardage.
Yeah.
that one.
Bengals had 16 more. So, I mean, there would have been one extra yard.
How about extra downs? Who led in that?
But again,
That didn't
like,
impact the game,
and that
though.
was the one really
That didn't
horrible thing that
impact the
happened, but it
game.
didn't. Like, they would have punted from 1 yard
It also
further
wasn't
back.
horrible. Did you see the ref? He blew the play. He was trying to blow the play dead before the play even started. So it's not like there was this correcting after the fact. No, he was on the field blowing it dead. But because they called it Burrowhead, the crowd was that loud.
Oh, yeah.
And it was.
The crowd was
They
extra
shouldn't.
loud.
They shouldn't
for
have done
sure.
that. Shouldn't have done that.
Why weren't they that loud last year?
I don't know.
It's crazy.
I don't
Real
know.
quick.
Also,
Are you
2 blocks in the back on the punt return. What do we say about those?
I'm
And
not.
that's-
I'm not
I
trying to
didn't
defend.
see them. I've heard people. Yeah.
the-
2 holdings,
the
and
I would
ball.
imagine. I'd
2
imagine
holdings
there's-
on the play before Osai hits him late out of bounds.
I would imagine there's a bunch of missed calls. Like, I haven't gone back and watched those. I didn't notice them at the time. That's all I can say.
Terrible.
Real
I'll-
quick, did we say we're presented by DraftKings yet?
Yes. Being completely honest, last night was the first time I ever questioned, like, why I spend so much
Wow.
time caring about this game. For real.
Whoa.
Wow. So you really do think it is rigged?
That game, like they probably don't rig like Miami at Tennessee in the regular season. That game was rigged.
I just
game
wish
was
that
not rigged.
I wish there was a good reason to believe why it would be rigged.
Why would they?
Every call
No,
But
I mean,
why
in
would they
terms
rig
of the
it?
why would
What's
they?
the motive?
to get Mahomes to the Super Bowl.
They have Burrow right there.
Kelsey Bowl.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
thi- you
I don't
think
think the NFL cares about the Kelsey Bowl.
You think
but
that they would be
yeah,
happier with
as
Mahomes
Ken
in there right
says.
now with everybody complaining about the refs today than just letting the game play out and nobody complain about what the NFL's refs did?
Yeah. Everyone
Okay.
will forget about it by tomorrow, and they'll start like you already have all the national media outlets. No one is talking about it anymore. Everyone's just like, "Oh my God, Mahomes is so Herculean."
He had a good game.
He had a decent game, yeah.
Yeah. He's a good quarterback.
He is.
And when push came to shove, he won. And they
Do you-
both had their
do you think
opportunities.
do you think the Super Bowl is going to
he
be
was
rigged?
gifted the win.
They both had their opportunities.
He was, well, Burrow's opportunity got stripped from him on a bullshit call.
But again, that's by the book. Like, the receiver was nowhere near him.
It bounced
He
to him.
spiked the ball. It bounced to him, exactly.
And he got hit. If it bounces to
See,
you in
and
the
I
air,
didn't see the
Wait,
hit.
on the true question. On the penalty that was called, the roughing the passer, or no, the intentional
Mm-hmm.
grounding. Didn't they pick up the first down after, and then they stalled after that?
No.
That
they
was-
didn't.
that ended it?
That was
Okay,
it.
okay.
And that was the one where they didn't throw a flag. And so I was sitting there saying, like, what the hell are they talking about? And then Romo comes on and says, they called intentional grounding? What? And it's like, yeah, it's been so obvious this whole time. He didn't get the ball out of the pocket. It was a literal spike.
If something was rigged, man, Tony Romo had money on the Bengals. The way he was talking all
Yeah,
game.
he does love those
What?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
wildest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That is like
like
the
the
honest
complete-
news for the Chiefs the entire game.
No.
He was. Oh my God.
They were watching a completely different game from us.
I think it was just, I think Tony Romo was weird. I do think he was really weird last night and uncomfortable, but I don't think he was pulling for one side or the other. He gave everybody their flowers.
He gives every
That's
quarterback
insane.
his flowers.
He
that's
does
for
give
sure.
his quarterbacks his
I
flowers.
only Mahomes. We have to stop.
Yeah.
We have to stop. I'm gonna try to forget about that
Do you think
as soon as
do
possible,
you-
so I don't have to.
Do you think the Super Bowl is going to be rigged?
If I were an Eagles fan, I would be hoping like, man, I hope the NFL wants
thought you
us.
are
Aren't you an
Eagles
Eagles
fan.
fan?
Well, I mean, I'm pulling for them in this case.
You've been pulling for him the past like 5 years.
Yeah,
That's okay. That's
you
okay.
can only be a fan of one team.
Okay.
Okay.
I pull for the Eagles for obvious reasons,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
but I don't
And the
believe in like that's my second favorite.
Broncos country is going to be pulling for the Eagles. That's for
Yes.
sure. And the Eagles favorites in the Super Bowl.
Crazy. Just gotta hope that the NFL isn't pulling for the Chiefs.
Oh my goodness. I can't take you seriously.
All right. So Jim Harbaugh. Let's get into that. You want to give us the news?
He's back. He's back in the mix. You can uncross Jim Harbaugh's name from being crossed off on the list. Last Monday, the Broncos, Greg Penner and Kerry Walton Penner, flew to Ann Arbor to have an in-person meeting with Jim Harbaugh. According to reports, there was no contract offered in this, so the Broncos were not turned down in this meeting. And what I have gathered from talking to multiple sources after is the conversation didn't end on Monday. It continued throughout the week, and how it was described to me was the Broncos weren't just sitting back and doing nothing the rest of the week. They were interested in Harbaugh, and I actually found that out before even hearing about this meeting. So I think it was they were pushing all for Harbaugh last week. Now, where we stand right
Was
now.
that the phone call?
I found out later Friday. Not to totally give it away, but so what is it? So nothing has materialized, but Harbaugh still has not signed a contract with Michigan. The Broncos have not completely ruled him out but they are still hoping that something can happen there, but I think they're taking this week to kind of say, okay, if we're not able to get something done, then what are our other options? So Jim Harbaugh, fully in play, back on the table. You guys ruling him out? Do you think it's done?
I mean, the fact that the report came out that was like, Jim Harbaugh still wants to coach in the NFL, and he said if he does, the team he would want to do is the Broncos, means he is absolutely in, and I would probably put him as the favorite right now.
Yeah.
He's my number one guy. Not just in my personal opinion, which he is, but also I think in the Broncos' mind.
I got to figure out where to put him in my personal opinion. Because remember, the day we found out he was not a part of the search anymore,
Yeah, you hated
it was
him.
a down day for me.
Yeah, it was.
Before.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So
He moved
that's
him
why,
down to 8th.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure about 8th. I have ranked it. I was just like, no,
Well,
like
but he-
kind of a hothead, like that
Ninth.
sort of stuff. Remember?
Ninth because of Rosberg. He had Rosberg ahead of him, too.
I didn't have Rosberg ahead of him. Rosberg. But I think that I haven't really thought about Jim Harbaugh at all since then. And so that's just kind of been like, now I need to figure out what I think of him.
I think that Jim Harbaugh is a crazy person.
He's insane.
And
But like in a genius
that-
way.
Right. But
Mad
and that's
genius.
why it's just like scary.
Yeah.
Because Russell Wilson is also a crazy person.
In his own way.
Pretty much everyone involved in football got a little crazy to him.
As soon as you're making those hundreds
this
of
is a
millions.
weird crazy. Both of them are weird crazy.
It's a different crazy, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if having two different brands of weird crazy at the top of the football side of the organization is a good idea. It could work. It could work out magnificently.
Are you, here? Super producer, you here?
Just so you know, all the odds on DraftKings are out.
Yeah, they have been for
They've
like
taken
a
them
week.
off. Like
Yep.
they won't bring them back on.
I believe only
chaos.
Arizona Cardinals. Arizona.
Arizona.
Speaking of crazy, Arizona is the only one with odds still up.
Yep.
And Sean Payton, number 2 for them.
Yeah, and theirs have been moving like crazy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised DraftKings haven't brought those down
That's
because
me
yeah.
too.
Ryan Flores is the favorite right now at minus 130.
Yeah.
It's a good hire, though.
yeah, it would be, but it feels like there's been no buzz.
They're dragging
That
their
is
feet
true.
forever on him.
There has been little buzz.
So my question to you about Harbaugh is, would you at all be concerned now? Harbaugh has once already told the Broncos, thanks but no thanks, I'm going back to Michigan. Then
Kinda.
they fly out. Well, he did.
I think
he called them.
I think
and-
he said I'm not waiting.
I think he probably even told them, like, hey, I'm saying this because I literally have to, otherwise I can't go back to Michigan.
But he told them no for a moment. Then last week they meet with him. Still no offer happens on Monday. And then still throughout the week no offer happens. Would you at all be concerned from a Broncos perspective that, man, the only reason he's coming here is for the money and maybe that's just not the best intention? And you would be concerned not just about the intentions, but like, could this be something that flames out in a year if it doesn't work out?
I think it could, but not for that reason. Like because he's like evil genius, mad scientist. Like a lack of caring is not a concern for me.
That's what I was
Like-
gonna say. The ego is so big.
Oh,
he would
yeah.
never like allow himself to not try to win at all costs.
Like he seems like the kind of person who's like going to bed at 1:30 in the morning and waking up at 4 in the morning regardless. And so he might as well just put that energy and effort toward football.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about it, but I know some people are concerned about that, and I understand that. What has to happen for him for the Broncos to get him away from Michigan?
Put a contract on his table.
Why?
I think so.
Why didn't they do that last week?
They might not be sold yet.
Well, then
D'Amico Ryans might be the number one.
If they're not sold on Harbaugh, why are they going out of their way for this secret meeting and then continuing to talk to him and then not make a second interview with anyone else last week because their sights were set on Harbaugh? How are they not sold on him now?
I think that was kind of a first interview. Just the way everything lined up, because they had like the short little Zoom call.
With Jim
but this
Harbaugh,
was
do
the
you
time they
really
went
need
out.
an interview though?
Yeah, that guy's crazy.
But that's not going to change. An interview's not going to change that.
But I'd like to hear him out. Like I think
you
if
don't
we
think they're sold on him. So then he's
No.
in your opinion, he's not their number one
I think D'Amico Ryans probably was.
for 24 hours. mean,
I think even
that's-
before that,
It's
I
pretty
think
crazy how the D'Amico Ryans thing went from like on Thursday out of nowhere, he's their guy. Friday, news comes out, they are pulling that all back, essentially saying, oh, well, the Texans are going to get me. He's not that much of our guy anymore. I mean, D'Amico Ryans is their guy for 24, 48 hours.
I can't believe the Broncos found a way to embarrass us again after the season ended. Like, this coaching search is a joke.
you got to see the results before you say it. I
You
think.
do. But even that, the result could reverse it. But right now, it's embarrassing.
True.
It
fair.
feels like they're just here one day and here the other day, and
Yeah.
and oh, we're in on this guy. Oh, he doesn't like us. We were actually not that in on him. Like,
Yeah.
we want Harbaugh. Harbaugh's back. Actually, we're back in on Harbaugh, but we're not sold on Harbaugh. It's just like, come on, man. Like, you guys, you get paid to make decisions. I know they're not getting paid by the Broncos. Well, I guess Greg Penner is getting paid by the Broncos. You get paid to make decisions. Figure it out, commit, and go.
It seems like this is being run by non-football people. And it's being run by non-football people. And then on top of that, you think, man, should the Broncos have gone out and hired a search committee, a search firm to help them? That would have made so much sense. Money's not an issue to them, so why wouldn't they do that? And like Matthew and Ryan, you said, it's embarrassing. That is a massive sentiment for most of Broncos country. I completely understand. I can get to that point. Where I'm at right now is extremely unnerving. Because until the final product's out there, I don't want to go out and say it's 100% embarrassing, because they could land Jim Harbaugh. They could land on the right coach. But the way this process is, the process itself has been embarrassing and just incredibly unnerving, because DeMeco, it was Harbaugh was believed to be their guy. Then Payton, then DeMeco, Dan Quinn maybe. And then all of those are now off the table potentially. Now you're on maybe your fifth option if you're not able to lure any of one of those guys back. And then their fifth option may actually be like their 10th option if they have to reopen this search, because according to a report over the weekend, they told Evero, they told David Shaw, they told Jim Caldwell, and they told Raheem Morris that they're going in a different direction.
Even that report coming out is a bad look.
Because the search isn't done?
And it's all 4 black coaches.
That's true. Yep.
It is.
Like, just throw Dan Quinn in there or something.
Right. We told him no before he told us no.
It's like, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's bad. Now, if they go back to the drawing board, I will feel so much more comfortable. Because from the start, I've been saying, interview everyone. Why haven't they interviewed Shane Steichen?
Yeah.
Why haven't they interviewed Callahan? Why haven't they, gone? I thought Ben Johnson from the jump. So I'll feel better, honestly, if they start doing like formal interviews again. It's this back door.
Yeah.
Well, now they like Gannon. Like, what?
But again, like, that's just buzz. That's just reports.
I know.
Like you can't blame them, because what they've done is typically keep their mouths shut.
But what's not a
and I think,
report,
and maybe keeping their mouth shut is what has caused more problems.
Well,
from
maybe
the fans.
This is why organizations aren't normally this so tight-lipped about it. Because if you don't control the narrative and tell people what's going on, then that opens up room for speculation.
Yep.
And again, I fully agree. They could make a great hire, and we just say like none of that mattered at all. But this morning you have like national media members, I forget who it was, tweeting out like, "Wow, does anyone want this Broncos job?"
Yeah.
And it's like, how did you allow this to happen? And I truly think the biggest problem here is indecision. I think that they wanted Harbaugh originally.
You did.
And then Harbaugh said, "All right, let's do it. Like, show me the contract." And they were like, "Well, we still have to interview a few other candidates." And he's like, "Okay, well, I can't wait around. I'm going back to Michigan." Same thing with Dan Quinn. Maybe Dan Quinn was the favorite there for a minute, but they weren't ready to commit to him. And so he's like, "Okay, well, I'm not going to wait around. I'm going back to Dallas. They're going to up my pay again." DeMeco Ryans, they were a little late to the game on. I just think that someone in power needs to make a strong-minded decision and go forward with it. Sean Payton, I think they're hesitant to offer the draft capital.
Yep.
If that's your guy, make it happen.
There was nothing more indecisive than everything that happened last week, especially if they really did not offer Jim Harbaugh a contract. Why are you waiting an entire week for him? Or maybe they waited 4 days for him, and then Thursday and Friday they were like, maybe we'll wait for DeMeco Ryans. And then Friday afternoon, that was already shut down because they had already kind of understood that he was going to go to the Texans. That is indecision at its finest. We are going on to the 4th week of the Broncos coaching search, and
does that include the last 2 weeks of the season?
no. So week
6.
week 6 of the Broncos coaching search, with no more information really, other than candidates have been narrowed out, and then they also may interview more people. And Ryan, one of the names that you just mentioned, Sean Payton, let's dive into him. And first, let's dive into some Avalanche Amber Ale from our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery. Maybe that's their biggest mistake. Do you think they had a beer, a Breck Brew with Jim Harbaugh last week?
Yeah, absolutely.
You think?
Yeah.
I was thinking it was more like afternoon tea sort of thing. Yeah.
I downloaded FIFA this weekend because the NFL didn't put any games on Saturday, so I needed something to do.
Weird.
And when you go into negotiations, you go for tea.
Oh, no way.
Wow.
Like at a place?
Yeah, there's like this like calming music that
Oh
plays.
my God.
And you sit down and they're like having tea, and you're like, all right, we're prepared to offer $25 million.
Is there any
transfer
truth
fee.
to that? Is that like how it gets done overseas? Yeah?
Everywhere, actually.
Yeah,
It's
no
very
way.
common to
No
go out to
way.
lunch. They don't go to those potrillos. They go to go get breakfast and try to negotiate
So
out.
maybe I was onto something.
Ann Arbor
Maybe.
Tea
Ann
House.
Arbor,
Maybe.
yes. And anyways, if you want to get yourself an Avalanche Amber Ale, delicious, perfect beer for the type of day. It's an amber ale. There's another big amber beer that is no longer an amber beer from a different company that's not as good.
I saw someone tweet about this, and I had no idea what they were talking about as well, because obviously we're not going to say the other company.
No. I found out about it from inside our company. So yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing that was happening.
I'm a one track mind when it comes to breweries. I only know the Breck Brew news.
Yeah, you get your Breck and you're good. And they still have a delicious amber ale, perfect for, what's it, 5 degrees today?
I don't know. It didn't feel that cold.
Oh my gosh.
It was cold.
You didn't wear a jacket either.
No, yeah, but I screwed up. But yeah, I mean, it was cold. That's how I know it's so cold.
It's cold, but not, I don't know.
So if you want to warm up, get yourself a Breck
cold.
Brew. If you can't make it down to the bar, go to breckbrew.com
We're just going to
to find your
on
Breck
everything
beer. We
today.
are.
We
We
might.
are. I like it.
I think the search is going fine. Jive Hive. If you guys need to get your hands on some pot, that's the old man word for weed.
Some dope.
Yeah, some dope. Some hash. Who says hash?
Some devil's lettuce.
Some devil's lettuce. Wow. If somebody's calling it devil's lettuce, you should probably buy it from them. I think that's probably the move.
I
No,
think
that's
the-
a cop. You don't buy it from him.
Oh, you think so? I think
Oh,
cops
wow.
would say pot.
The very first person, and he said this on air when I was like 15, so I'm not throwing him under the bus. The very first person that said devil's lettuce that I remember was Vic Lombardi.
Wow. Wow. Okay, never mind. Maybe not. Okay, moving along though. If you want it delivered to your house, you hit up Jive Hive. They deliver marijuana products to anybody in basically the Denver metro area, whether you're in, there it is, Aurora, Greenwood Village, Monument, Fountain, various areas of El Paso County. You can go to Jive Hive. They have great prices. You either say like you want ASAP or schedule a time for them to drop it off. You can enter your address into their website and it'll tell you if you can get delivery. So that's the key here. But go to jivehive.com. That's JIVEHYVE.com. You'll get your order delivered the same day, or you can schedule a delivery window.
Honestly, we're living in an incredible age. Like, you can wake up, have Starbucks delivered to your house.
Yep.
Then you can have breakfast delivered to your house.
Wow.
Lunch? Sure. Dinner? Yes. You want some drinks? That can now be delivered to your house as well.
Wow.
And to top it all off, you hit up Jive Hive
Yep.
and they deliver some
Yep,
weed
yep,
to your house.
yep.
Wow.
Pretty impressive.
Like,
especially on days like today.
you don't want to do that every day. It's probably bad
Probably
habit
not.
to get into. I definitely order food more than I should.
Yeah.
But
That's rough.
if you're just having like a lazy Saturday, lazy Sunday, it is pretty incredible that you can have anything you need in this life delivered directly to your door.
It's very true.
Shout out Jive Hive. They were like, they were the cherry on top of it all.
Man, do you think that's what the Broncos were hoping for? Just a coach to be delivered to them?
Wow.
They're like, what if we just don't do much this past week? Maybe one will just fall in our lap.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So, wait, who do you guys think is most likely to be the Broncos head coach?
I'm on Harbaugh right now.
I'm going Harbaugh.
I think Harbaugh too. But again, like we're sitting here, only one of the 5 teams has actually hired a coach.
yeah.
Jim Harbaugh is who we all think is going to be the guy. And the primary sentiment before the search even started was that he was unavailable. Like, I just can't look at this and say things are going poorly.
Like I said, I'm happy to go back retroactively and say, hey, it was all good. But I'm not trying to reopen this can of worms, but it's similar to what I was saying about the NFL, where it's like the idea out there is that it was rigged. It doesn't matter whether it was or not if a lot of the country is feeling this way. And a lot of the country is feeling like the Broncos are falling on their face right now. So that can, of course, be undone, but as it stands now.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. Number 2, though, I would say Sean Payton. I would say Sean Payton is the second most likely to be the Broncos head coach right now. And
That's so dumb. We've been going in circles for 6 weeks.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And what a weird week with Sean Payton. If they hire Sean Payton tomorrow, I still think it's going to be a good hire, but I'm not. What's happened this past week would make me be less high on him. That because of what's happened.
Just because he was causing drama?
Yeah, and the Broncos just simply didn't have a second interview with him. I think if he was sold on them being their guy, then he would have had a second interview last week. And why would they have let him go to Arizona? And why wouldn't they have hired him before he was on air yesterday? And we found out from Sean Payton yesterday on Fox when asked if the door was closed or still, if the door was closed on him coming back, he said, No. He made it very clear that he still wants to be involved in this coaching cycle. He met with Arizona on Thursday and Friday maybe. Did not get a contract there. He's still up for that job with Arizona. And what we're kind of finding out, I believe Tom Pelissero put this out about Sean Payton, was Mickey Loomis and the Saints may be the ones holding Sean Payton back. They are still asking for 2 first-round picks. We talked about this last week, talked about the week before. Yeah, maybe you stay. And Jeff Duncan said, yeah, you start by asking for 2 first-round picks, and then you kind of back off of that. As of yesterday, they had not backed off on that.
Odd, in my opinion, because they're not going to get it. It's not like they can just be like, well, some team will get more desperate and do it next year. Next year,
less desperate.
Yeah, they'll be less desperate. So, kind of an odd decision there.
But again, like if that's what's going on, then, of course, the Broncos say, actually, we want D'Amico Ryans. And they say, actually, we talked to Jim Harbaugh this week. And
that's
start to flip things back. So maybe that's what it is.
But now
you can connect the dots in so many different ways.
You kind of lost some negotiating power for the Broncos then, because D'Amico, you're probably not even going to be able to meet with him
anymore.
Report came out. Right. But I mean, Sean Payton's still out there.
Yep.
So now that it's got to this point, the Broncos have lost kind of some of their leverage there. Now maybe Jim Harbaugh is all leverage with them. They have a close relationship, so maybe the Broncos aren't just trying to help Jim get a new contract in Michigan. Maybe Jim's trying to help them get a cheaper price on Sean Payton. I actually don't think that's what's going on.
Look for Jim
Harbaugh.
But in terms of spinning things, if you want, that's a way to look at it. I don't think that's what's happening. But at what point does it come to where there's just one team left? And it could just be the Broncos saying, no, we're not going to give you 2 firsts. And on the opposite side, the Saints saying, no, he's your guy. You're going to give us 2 firsts, especially now that we know that the Broncos' first-round pick is number 29 overall. That's probably not going to be easy to just be like, oh, you want 2 first-round picks? We'll give you number 29 overall instead.
2 quick things. One, I agree with T. Sweezy's point. Now, I personally, I don't think would have wanted Kellen Moore as my offensive coordinator, but it's a good point. Things are changing, pieces are moving around. All of a sudden, yesterday, Kellen Moore becomes available. It would have been nice to be in the sweepstakes. Now he probably would have taken the Chargers job regardless.
Yep.
But I think it's a good point. The other thing, I hate. Hopefully, this will be the last thing that I bitch about today. I hate.
Well, wait. What did they say? It's a 24-hour rule after a game. You still have hours left.
I'm leaving that out. I really need to just pretend that never happened so I can just go on with my life. I hate the reporting out there that's like the Broncos might covet Jonathan Gannon, but if the Eagles win, they just might not wait around for him. It's like, if that's your guy, you wait as long as it takes.
You've already waited till now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like we said, 6 weeks they've been waiting. What's an extra 2?
First-time head coach hiring a staff that late could be kind of tricky. Like, you wonder whether he gets passed over by his offensive coordinator and all that. Defensive coordinator.
To me, it's kind of like the whole idea of, like, if you see a quarterback and you're like, that's our franchise quarterback, you just trade whatever you got to do to get him. And I'm mostly talking about the draft. But in this scenario, it's like, okay, so the staff, let's just say maybe he can't put together a great staff. Well, then sign the staff to short-term contracts and redo it next year. You know?
Right. Yeah.
If that's your guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he was ever their guy, but I don't like that style of reporting, which is just like, I'm not blaming the reporting. I'm just saying the idea that they have a guy, but not if he's in the Super Bowl, because, winning and dominating, obviously Jonathan Gannon didn't have much of a challenge yesterday, but allowing 7 points on one speaking of Herculean run by Christian McCaffrey.
It was incredible.
Was an incredible defensive performance, or at least a commendable defensive performance.
Yeah, of course. By the way, the Eagles have had the easiest run to the Super Bowl that I can ever remember. Now, I'm not taking that away from them, but that's just the facts, and they have dominated the two teams that they've played. So they've done what they've needed to do, but they'll get more of a challenge this game.
Yeah, I wonder if that's an advantage in terms of like not having the stress and emotional distress of being in a close game of the playoffs, like draining you.
Yeah.
Or if it's a disadvantage because you're like, at least in the playoffs, you have not been battle tested yet.
We talk about how you can spin things in this cycle. You can spin that either way.
Yep.
And I'm sure the Eagles are going to spin it as, we're ready to just keep rolling into this.
Totally. And then if they lose, they can just be like, I blame the other teams we played because they didn't test us.
Right, exactly.
Blame the garbage NFC. Okay.
Sean
What
Payton.
else? Yes.
Sean Payton. Where do you guys stand with this? Do you think it's the Broncos not wanting Sean Payton? Not craving him? Do you think it's Sean Payton not really wanting the Broncos job? Or do you think it's the Saints holding them back?
I think the Saints are the biggest issue right now. And it is true that, let's say Sean Payton becomes the head coach. In that introductory press conference, they can just spin it off as, look, we were in deep negotiations not only with Sean, but with also the Saints, and we had to play our cards a certain way so that the Saints didn't feel like we were pigeonholed and backed into a corner and forced to give them whatever they want. And then not only will I go back and retract the whole embarrassing thing, I'll say it was actually impressive.
How they played the Saints.
How they at least played it smart enough so that the Saints couldn't fleece them.
Right. Yeah, it's really true, and that's why we're in such an interesting spot right now, and that's why I say it's an unnerving spot to be in for the Broncos right now, and maybe it is just Sean Payton wanting to see all of his options. Just at this point, it seems like the options are pretty clear: Arizona or Denver.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and Arizona's requesting more interviews. They're going after Anarumo.
Smart.
Never heard his name
They
before,
should
like a
be
week
going
ago,
after
and it's been everywhere.
And they're going after Callahan.
Yep.
They're expanding their search.
Good for them.
At this point, you might as well.
And that would make you think
What are the
it's
Broncos?
not Sean Payton.
What's ownership doing today?
Broncos ownership?
Yeah.
Mystery things.
Could be interviewing Callahan, Anarumo.
Yep. And though we would know about those ones.
So, feel like, I don't know. Get busy.
Yeah, maybe they're out in Ann Arbor again.
They're not behind the rest of the coaches, though. Like, again, if you were to say...
This is rare.
January 3rd, it is rare. That is definitely
What's
true.
going on?
But, like, if you were... Well, there's just so many moving pieces with Sean Payton. That's what holds everything else up
There is
first.
a difference, though, Henry. There is a difference between what the Broncos are or aren't doing and what the other teams are or aren't doing.
Broncos had a 2-week head start.
Well, Broncos had a 2-week head start. The Broncos also didn't have an interview with anyone last week. I guess if you want to call the Jim Harbaugh one interview Monday. They didn't talk to any other candidate in a formal interview Tuesday through today. It's been an entire week since they've had a real interview with someone. The Cardinals did at the end of last week. They had multiple last week. The Colts also had multiple interviews last week. Who else are we waiting? Who's the other team?
Cardinals, Colts.
Panthers are now locked up. Who's this fifth team?
Oh, Texans? You say Texans?
Oh, and Texans, yeah. And I think it's clear where the Texans are. They also had multiple interviews last week as well. So there is a difference of the Broncos just not doing anything.
Yep.
So it's okay that, there's only one team that's hired a coach, but the other teams are doing things.
But the Broncos aren't behind him, though, at the end of the day. They're still in the same spot. And I think, I'd guess we hear D'Amico Ryans is going to the Texans today. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Broncos are hiring somebody tomorrow. Like, I don't think that they had all that much left that they felt they needed to do. Otherwise, I would assume they would have done something,
Yeah.
So if it happens tomorrow, is it Harbaugh?
Or Payton.
Harbaugh or Payton?
I think that, right? It'd have to be.
I mean, those are the two that are left, unless they're able to convince Dan Quinn to come out and not be. But by the way, Dan Quinn is clearly the Cowboys' next head coach in 2024. I mean, this is something that they are just very much milking to. The fact that now they moved on from Kellen Moore and McCarthy's taking over play calling duties. This is just an extended version of what happens when a coach is in deep water during a season. What happens? Oh, you fire some assistants, then you fire your coordinator, then you take play calling duty over from the coordinator. It's just happening. It's going to be a year process for the Cowboys to make Dan Quinn their head coach.
Someone in the comments a little bit above said people keep pretending like they know what they're talking about or know what's going on when they don't, and that's why everyone's so confused.
Yep, that is it.
Not a bad thought.
Yeah.
That is it.
The one thing I will say is that I still believe Jeff Duncan about the hunting trip. His original report.
If I could tell you,
there was all the conspiracies out there about DeMar Hamlin. He just got in front of a camera and put them all to bed.
Yep.
Rob Walton, where were you at, bro?
there's no situation which Rob Walton is getting in front of camera.
He didn't even have to. All he had to do was just walk by in the background.
Would have been so
It's like
good.
what's the
Like Phil Milani's like doing a report out in front of headquarters, and Rob Walton just walks in the building behind him.
Wouldn't have been great if he was wearing a camo hat too or something.
He has a safari hat on and like a rifle over his shoulder.
I forget the name of the movie, but they say there's only 3 times a gentleman's name should be in the news. It's when they're born, when they get married, and when they die. Like that is how Rob Walton and them operate.
He's in the news a lot
How
more
do you
than
get in
that.
the news for being born?
You're that
That's-
famous.
No,
You must be.
they're all in the announcements. Every birth is in the news.
in the news.
In the newspaper, yeah.
No, I don't think
Yes,
so.
it absolutely
You're living
is.
in 1955?
No, if a kid is born, it's in the newspaper.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Birth announcements. You never heard of it? Like, do you have the marriage announcements, all that stuff in there too?
I did know about marriage announcement, but I don't think it's like every single one. I think you like submit it.
And I guess maybe in the last 10 years it's changed and people don't do it anymore. I'm not sure.
A lot has changed in the last 10
Exactly.
years. That's why
But
maybe
again,
Jim
like,
Caldwell was a
it's-
little concerning to be your coach. He's like, I haven't been a coach in
True.
5 years.
Again,
Do you
like
think
the one coach
at
off
the
the board is
paper are
Frank
probably
Reich.
like, we're printing way too many pages. I don't think we need the birth page anymore.
So you can't get in on the coaching odds over at DraftKings Sportsbook, but you can get in on the Super Bowl. I was looking at Super Bowl odds because typically like a week before a game, all they have is the over-under and the spread and money line for the teams. No, they already have like over 100 lines up on the Super Bowl. There's some fun ones in there. And if you want to bet on the Eagles beating the Chiefs, you can do that. This line has moved a lot in the past, like in the hour that it opened. It was 2.5. Then it went to like even. Then it's back at 1.5, I think, or 2 for the Eagles to be favored. So you can get in on that. You can get on everything. Or if you don't want to wait 2 weeks to bet, you can get in on Nuggets, Avs. So much stuff going on over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And they, for Super Bowl 57, they're going to give you a 100% profit boost on the same game parlay. I do these. Love them. So much fun. If you build 10 legs, you get 100% boost on this. It's so much fun to do. I've hit 2 of them, so you're not going to hit them all, but if you hit 1 or 2, it's going to make it all up. So make sure to go and check out the App Store now. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. And if you bet $5 on the Super Bowl 57, they're going to give you $200 in free bets instantly. That's promo code DNVR over at DraftKings Sportsbook. So make sure to check them out and use that promo code DNVR at DraftKings Sportsbook. And guys, and of course, minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void in Ohio. See our show notes for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. And let's jump in to our DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week. Anything juicy standing out to you guys?
Well, the thing is, the Super Bowl isn't this week, so you can't just bet on that.
You can bet on it, though. That's what I was saying. Were you
That's-
not listening to what I was
no,
saying about
you
DraftKings?
can bet on it. Can I bet on it? It doesn't
No.
happen this week.
No.
See, that's what I thought. Okay.
I mean, you
see.
could, but I just feel like saying no.
Okay,
I don't know,
here.
where'd this go?
I'm going to go the over. I'm hoping for a fun Super Bowl. The over set at 50. I know the Eagles' defense is great. The Chiefs' defense is literally an average defense in the NFL, but I think both offenses are going to come out and give us a very fun game. So take the over. That's something that probably most people can cheer for.
For sure.
Well, damn. They took down the Cardinals coaching search odds.
Oh,
I was going to pick somebody who
wow.
wasn't Brian Flores or Sean Payton
Finally.
because I don't think it's going to be one of those. But just give me Chiefs are underdogs.
Yeah.
Chiefs plus 110.
Again, he hasn't listened to me all
Oh,
day.
I was busy trying to. I was
Wow.
about to talk about Foco.
Can you guys gamble
have-
on the Pro Bowl?
No.
Boy,
No.
I
There
would
might
highly
be some-
recommend
some
not
never.
doing that.
All right.
It's also the Pro Bowl games now.
I would
It's not the
be
Pro
more
Bowl.
likely to gamble on the Senior Bowl than the Pro Bowl.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I have
I would just stay away from
maybe
it
the
all.
best bet of all time.
Oh wow. What is it?
So
Eagles money line?
what's crazy is this ended up being the second worst look for referees all weekend.
Oh, boy.
But the worst look for referees all weekend was the NBA referees official account issuing like a formal apology to LeBron James and the Lakers
Oh.
after they missed a call on
Like a
him.
very clear call at the buzzer.
Yep, they
Couldn't have been more clear.
They missed
Free
the
throws
call.
that would have won the game. Instead, they go and lose.
Yeah, so they missed the call, and then
Biggest missed call of the season?
they tweeted out, maybe in basketball, they tweeted out like a sorry,
Wow.
which is such
never
a
happens,
joke.
right?
It never happens, but only because they get on their knees for LeBron and the Lakers. And
LeBron, who is literally on his knees.
yes, also, how do you not get a technical there?
That was kind
He's
of
literally jumping up and down, throwing his body around. He honestly looks like one of those people who's like making those videos pretending like they're being affected by the vaccine.
Oh, wow. Wow.
He's like throwing his body on the ground, shaking.
Was
I was
it
like,
was the game over?
it went
Or
to
was there
overtime.
still? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was like, how do you not get a technical? Anyways, you just know the referees are going to take care of the Lakers tonight when they go into Brooklyn. They're 9-point dogs. You could just take the 9 if you want to go safe, but just bet Lakers plus 300. LeBron's going to shoot like 35 free throws.
Wow.
Everyone on the Nets is going to foul out.
Oh, I like that conspiracy a lot.
See, you can't
I
get
like it.
behind rigged conspiracies.
I like it. And there you go. There's our DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week.
And Foco.
There we go.
I got a new bobblehead. I said it on the podcast before. It's a Nikola Jokic bobblehead. He's a lot of fun. He kind of sits there, but you can make him nod when you say something or shake his head or something like that. It's a great bobblehead. And if you want that bobblehead or like dozens and dozens of other bobbleheads, you can go over to Foco because they're like the bobblehead central of the
Oh,
world.
no.
We brought up the
Someone just said LeBron isn't playing tonight.
Oh, wow. Take that back.
Wow. Good
They'll still take care of the
Good
Lakers.
pick, Ryan. Okay, but yeah, we brought up before the Miles bobblehead, which might be my favorite bobblehead on the site. It's the Thanksgiving Day parade, which I don't know. It's kind of weird to me, but his head bobbles. He's a big balloon. So much other stuff there too. The tumblers and the tote bags and the hoodies and the Henleys and all that sort of stuff. So use the code DNVR at foco.com. You'll get 10% off non-presale items. There's a link in the description. There's also a link in the podcast description. So check it out.
All right, shall we talk to the peeps?
Let's talk to the people. And by the way, speaking of the people, thank you all so much for the huge push at the end of Friday's
That was
pod.
intense.
Getting us to 25. I thought there was no way. When
Yeah,
we got
no.
there, 250 down at the start of the pod, I was like, it's done. Ryan, good job on you making the big push. And thank you all for the support. And thank you all for the support. Over 100 likes already before
question
entering the
is,
third.
like, could we get to 1 million followers if we just ask for it profusely every day?
Wow. What do we do then? What is the reward for a mill?
What do we do for $1 million?
Zach LaShotgun, 100 years back to back.
I will die for 1 million followers, is what we're saying.
It'll be like the push-up challenge. Like the first day, you just have to shotgun one.
Oh, right.
Just go
Yeah.
up.
So thank you all for the support. We love you. And let's talk to the people. We got a super chat coming in. Bronco Nuts says, I have to think that the Russell Wilson contract and poor play last season have caused some of the slow progress. Wonder how many coaches want to cut him. Or I don't think it's that. I think it's maybe just some people see that contract and say, I would rather wait a year and take a different job. I'd rather go to take a different job. I do think that's having some sort of impact. I don't necessarily think it's them coming in and saying we have to cut Russell Wilson and the Broncos being like, well, I'm not sure about that.
That would make me like the coach more.
Wow.
Just because they have like a fresh and risky idea.
You wouldn't view it as Josh McDaniels
so
too?
you just like the riskiness of the plan.
I just like
you
the
hear a
boldness
risky
of
thought
coming
in
in
an
and
interview.
like being like, here you go. Here's the move. And then it's the move we've talked about. Cut him, eat all the BS that you have to eat this year, tank, get Caleb Williams.
If you were the coach, would you do
just
that?
point to the Bengals.
We haven't circled back to this in like a month. Would that be like your ideal plan?
I think it would be a plan that I really like and a plan that I think would make me stand out amongst the candidates.
That is, you would stand out.
You would
You
either be
certainly
eliminated
stand
or
out.
hired right
and you
away.
point to the
Probably
Bengals and you're like,
eliminated.
the Bengals should be going to 2 straight Super Bowls
Oh,
after
boy.
they tanked, bottomed out, got Burrow, had one more bad year, got Chase, and now they're, a top 4 team in the NFL.
That's kind of
Yeah.
the thing that was like, if you're, and Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, they get whatever leash they get because they're stud coaches. But like D'Amico Ryans, if he comes to Denver, like, okay, year 1 next year, what if it doesn't go well? Russ isn't good. It's like, okay, you win like 6-7 games. Then the next year you cut Russ, eat that cap hit, tear down the team. You're not going to win more games that next year after Russ. So then all of a sudden it's 2 years with a losing record and you're finally starting like the actual rebuild.
So if you're D'Amico
scary.
in that case, and it is scary, but if you're D'Amico, why you do that is because the Broncos gave you a 4-year, $60 million contract, essentially saying, if we have to rebuild, here's some insurances you'll stay around,
Yep.
or even if it's not insurances of staying around, you're going to be set for the rest of your life by far.
You just can't trust that they're going to keep you. So easy to say, like,
But
it's gonna happen.
that's
you
why-
get the
that's
money
why you give
regardless.
them the money.
Yep,
Yeah.
you get the money regardless.
For sure. All right. A super chat here from Bronco Nuts who says, oh, okay.
No one is listening to me on this podcast today. Not Ryan, not Henry.
I realized-
Ryan, did you hear
my
something right there?
goodness.
I could swear I just heard something.
Wow.
It's like a whisper.
Wait, actually,
right
there's
here.
another
I know,
super
it was
chat,
weird.
though.
Fly.
There is another
That's
super
weird.
chat.
Oh,
2
nice.
more.
All right, next
You were
one's
onto
from,
something.
from Orange. As soon as I started reading the comment, I knew because I listened to you. Although the process has been abysmal, having Harbaugh and Payton as the 1 and 2 options right now makes me feel good. The Broncos just got to go for it. I just
Exactly.
don't. That's what it feels like. Maybe I
Oh,
just
yeah,
don't
we
know what
don't
the
know.
options actually are.
So, but like, if we were to flash back to day after the season, I can say January 30th, the Broncos don't have a coach, but we all think most likely is Jim Harbaugh, second most likely is Sean Payton. You take it, right?
Yes, but if I told you the reason we think Jim Harbaugh is the guy is because 1, he's told them no already. 2, they went and had a meeting with him after he told them no, and he still isn't the head coach. And then why Sean Payton isn't the head coach is because after they met, and there were initial reports after their first interview that things were going well, then there was just so much shit that came out after, kind of on both sides about, whoa, wasn't that good, and all these other things. That's why it's unsettling. So you're right.
Yeah.
Just on the surface,
But here
if
we
those
still
two,
are.
yeah, but just everything else with it, honestly, maybe it's even because there's just a lack of other options. If Dan Quinn hadn't gone back to the Cowboys, he's probably the number 1 today.
You think so?
Yeah, just because of how weird things are with the other 2
True.
guys.
From Evan, he says, here's $10 because I agree that game was rigged. Thank you, Evan. I'm glad these guys didn't sway you away from
Wow.
your generous donation.
Thank you, Evan. And now on the website, let's get to a couple of these. Mile High Till I Die says, the way this ownership group has handled this coaching search feels a lot like the way Nathaniel Hackett handled his first few games as the Broncos head coach. It feels confused, unprepared, and bizarrely inadequate considering the business resumes of the people involved. Even if we manage to land Harbaugh or Dan Quinn, at this point, it doesn't feel like it will be because they had great connections and interviews, but more so because things were so mishandled that the ownership group had to backtrack and then get on their hands and knees and beg and throw obscene amounts of money at all of them to convince them to come and save the franchise. For the first time, I'm genuinely worried about the people that own this team. At the end of the process, I'm worried we'll end up with the bottom of the list head candidate, and the ownership will have no problem firing them after a couple of years because that was never their guy in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this plenty of times already. I'll say it one more. If they get a good coach, I don't care how they get a good coach. Like, if it's because Greg Penner's literally on his knees begging, and it's like, fine, you convinced me. Good enough for me. Just get the good head coach. Don't care about anything else at all. But if you do wind up with, I don't even know who we throw out there. Jim Caldwell?
Carl Durrell.
Yeah, if Carl Durrell's the head coach, honestly, better NFL coach in college.
He's going to be able to convince himself on anyone.
No.
If he just
You
made
can't-
Carl Durrell a
can't
good...
convince him. But I wonder how that would go. We shouldn't do it, but I wonder. But yeah, I mean, if they wind up with a Jim Caldwell, one of those guys, of course it's gonna feel shitty.
Yep.
Well,
like
they already
that's
told
obvious.
him no, so you don't have to worry about Jim Caldwell.
That is true.
All right, we're running
One
out
of
of time
them.
here. If you left
no
a
names
comment
left.
that you want us to read tomorrow, you can always copy and paste it over. So the last one we have time for is the Count, who says, "Remember that time the refs gave Mahomes and company an extra down and then called a BSPI to keep them in the game? I hated that. Love the Count.
Yep.
Go Eagles."
Which again, that could have been such a massive. If that had impacted the game, I would have said like, yes, this was ugly. But again, what happened? So they lose the 5 yards that they had picked up. So it's not 4th and 4. It's 3rd and 9 again. They pick it up because of the penalty, which is a 5-yard penalty. So they wind up 1 yard short. Over the next 3 plays, they pick up 2 more yards. Then they punt. Right. So all that happens is another minute comes off the clock, and they lose 1 yardage in field position.
And then as Patrick Mahomes walked off the field, the ref said, "Hey, bud, sorry, but we can only do so much at a time. We'll get you later."
Yeah, it just didn't impact the game.
Yeah, no, it didn't. And it makes me sick that the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Again.
Well, there's one thing we can all agree on. It's go Birds.
Absolutely. Everyone's pulling for him. Hopefully in 14 days, there's a greased up and Crisco'd Philadelphia.
Sure. Is that?
Because that means they won.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
They grease all the poles and stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
I thought you were
exactly.
talking about the players.
No.
I was like,
We don't
oh,
need to grease the Eagles.
Anyways, let's wrap there. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. And Vic Lombardi just tweeted out, "Maybe it's Saban."
Oh,
We joked
we
about
will.
that.
There
We
you
will
go.
be talking about some mystery candidates tomorrow. So
Tomorrow
stay
we're
tuned.
talking mystery candidates, and we have a special announcement at the top of the show. So we'll see you guys.
Oh,
then.
yeah, special announcement.